I'm here with Kathleen Rafter Lemieux, founder and CEO of Do-Gooders based in Kelowna, BC. Kathleen brings over 20 years of fundraising experience in Canada's nonprofit sector, and she leads a team that helps organizations across the country find and secure grants that they need to keep doing their vital work. She's a certified fundraising exec, a digital marketer, and someone who's deeply committed to helping nonprofits thrive, which makes her perfect for No Small Change, our grant. She's a partner on our grant. And thank you for being here, Kathleen.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Right on. I thought we would start maybe with a bit about your journey. So,
Yeah.
how did you find your way into the world of fundraising and grant research and stuff like that?
Okay. It was actually 25 years ago. I worked for an organization that provided therapeutic horseback riding to children and adults with diverse abilities. And I
Oh,
absolutely
wow.
loved it. I ended up working there for 6 years. And like many charities, everyone pitches in everywhere they can. So I actually got to work in the rain with the kids. It was so awesome. It touched me working there and the freedom that the children had who couldn't walk that ride horses. Like, absolutely loved it. And I started building relationships with donors, which were people that came in, and it just came naturally to me. And I started to take fundraising courses through the Association of Fundraising Professionals at that time. And most people don't like fundraising. I loved fundraising. I just loved it because for me, it was just like talking to people that cared about the cause. They were engaged, they wanted to help. So I didn't see it as anything difficult. And that's how I started with AFP. After that, I volunteered quite a bit. When I was there for 6 years, I moved to Kelowna and I started working with the Kelowna Women's Shelter. And I was there for 8 years. I was right in the house in the shelter with the women and the children. Uh, I saw a lot, and I really wanted people to understand what was happening with domestic violence. I like being a bit of a myth buster as far as people saying, oh, why doesn't she just leave? And those
Hmm.
types of things. And I wanted to educate people on, you know what, I always go back to the child and what happened to that person as a child and how they got into that situation, what led to that in their life. And by doing that, and I've always done that, telling people stories, people were just, oh, wow, I never saw it from that perspective before. So
Yeah.
I absolutely loved working at the Kelowna Women's Shelter. I was there for 8 years. But at that time, I felt like I needed to move on and do something different. And an opportunity came up with Habitat for Humanity here in the interior. And I was like for director of fund development. And I felt, okay, this is it. I'm going for it. I did end up getting a position, Habitat for Humanity, and I was really behind affordable housing. So that was wonderful for me. Then COVID came and really normalized working from home. And everything shut down here. When everything shut down and we
Yeah.
all went folding, and I started working from home. And I just got this idea about working for multiple charities. And a lot of my friends were executive directors at charities who were asking me to handle their digital marketing and grant writing. So it was already starting to happen. And I decided I was going to go on my own and start my own business. This is my first time running a business. So I'm 4 years in, but I always ran my departments at the charities like little businesses, right? It came naturally to me. So right away, there was a huge need, of course, when I put it out there. Grant writing is a huge pain point for most charitable leaders. Leaders are expected to do so much. There is this idea that charities shouldn't spend more than 10% on operational expenses, which is crazy. And so what happens is you get leaders that end up working for less, expecting everyone to work for less, do more, and they don't
Yeah.
have the capacity to find grants and write grants. And it's just sometimes not their area of expertise. A lot of times in the not-for-profit sector, people that came in as social workers get elevated to the position of
Mhm.
being the charity leader. They really care, but it's just not their area of expertise. Like I said,
I can see
I decided,
advantages to that. If you're in a leadership position, you've got the leverage and the know-how to make those relationships, but you're being
Mhm.
pulled in so many directions, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They just don't have the time. Money is falling through the cracks. They miss deadlines. They can't organize it all. So when I started Do Gooders, I was actually offering digital marketing. We were doing online gaming. We were doing everything a resource development department would do. But over time, what rose to the top was the grant writing and the grant research and niche down. And that's all we do. We specialize in it day in, day out. And it's wonderful. We make it easy. It's affordable. We're working with First Nations, charities, and not for profits. And really rewarding work because obviously you get a huge sum of money for a charity and the impacts
You're making a
is
real difference.
for sure. Like some of
Yeah.
them we've got for daycare, say teaching Indigenous culture, $1 million, or recovery house for men, which I know is so important. Because going back to domestic violence, at the core of the issue, it's men need help. They think it's a woman's issue, but to me, it's more of a boy
Three
issue.
times the suicide rate of women.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I love it. I have an
Yeah.
awesome team. Most of the women here are women that were executive directors for charities. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh,
have a
that's
great team.
awesome. So
Yeah.
maybe let's talk a little more specifically around like a smaller emerging nonprofit.
Yes. I
Um,
run into them all the time.
yeah. Can you speak a bit about how your grant research part of the grant will especially help those kinds of nonprofits?
The grant research bundle that we have includes 8 hours of research. And then we provide an Excel spreadsheet with all the funding matches in chronological order by due date and a 2-page summary report where we go over our methodology, what we found, the charity's strengths, their challenges, our recommended next steps. So it's super helpful. That's a nice little bundle because it's 8 hours. We usually will find like 20 to 30 matches in that time. So it is competitive out there. So that's why we recommend the next steps. So this is the one we think you should go for because of our experience. We know the ones that are really highly competitive and it is getting more competitive. And
Like
yeah,
knowing where to put your energy, right? Because,
exactly.
yeah,
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 because some of them
totally.
want to go for some of these grants are like, you know what? They're always oversubscribed from experience. We know
Yeah.
that. So we can guide as well. And it just takes the burden off them trying to find those grant opportunities. So they find the matches and then we will make a recommendation. They can either write the grant themselves if they want, because some of them are on really tight budgets, or we will write it for them and we're highly competitive and we have a high success rate because we review all of the eligibility requirements before we write a grant. We make sure the client reads them. It's actually in the contract. And we don't write any grants we don't think they have a 90% plus chance of getting because we don't want to waste their money. And we
Yeah.
don't want to ruin our reputation. Of course, that's how we do it. And the great grant writers on our team do an awesome job. It's
Yeah.
super helpful, especially for the smaller organizations. I know what they're going through. I know the struggle is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
You've
getting
been
that
there.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Now, like tools like Grant Connect,
Yeah.
I mean, for a price, they are available to the
Yeah.
public or anyone who wants to go on there. So, what would you say is the difference between, especially a kind of maybe newer, less experienced nonprofit doing this on their own versus working with someone like you? Like, what's the difference
For
between
sure.
those two?
Yeah. Okay. So I think what happens, because I've had it happen to me when I was working in the sector, was you have the subscription, but guess what? You never use it. They just don't go in. They don't have the time or the expertise. And you have to filter everything. It takes a long time. So really, that's what ends up happening. They pay for the subscription that sits there. And I remember when I was doing my fund development over all those years, I would actually get students or volunteers to help me, or like hire a student or something to help me with that part because I didn't have time for it. So with us, we have the time. The other thing is we have way more opportunities because we have our own master grants list. We've been doing research for 4 years, and we're always feeding that master grants list. We're also on every sign up for every e-blast from all these funders we work with across Canada, all the foundations, the corporate grants. So we're on top of it all the time. We're always getting alerts. Now we're building in an AI system that actually start working with the client. We can run a report that's another service and match new grant opportunities with clients and also clients with grant opportunities. So I just think it's more efficient with using AI. And we send out a notification.
That sounds
rather
super
than,
useful. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just in development right now. So I'm so excited because we just got too big to do it manually anymore. So now, because our list has grown so large, we did need to, of course, incorporate AI in everything. So,
Totally.
I think the main thing is I know the intention is there when someone subscribes to something like Grant Connect, but again, it's always that capacity issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Plus, I think you could spin your wheels quite a bit, narrowing down to grants that are like a long shot and possibly overlooking grants that are a perfect fit.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's too time consuming. And executive directors often get pulled away from what they're really supposed to be doing is being the visionary of their organization, having people doing all these pieces for them instead of taking out the garbage and cleaning the toilet and going online looking for grants. That's when it ends up with these really small organizations. So they have to get past that. Another thing is they have to get past is sometimes they have to sell the board on the idea of hiring a grant researcher or grant, right? So because you've got all these people on the board that some of them might see it the old way and they need to talk to them about the value of doing that and not missing those opportunities. Hire us, you get one grant right off the bat. Okay, let's
The
go.
math works out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they'd have to deal with that too, right?
Yeah.
Especially when they're newer and they're on a fledgling organization. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a lot on their shoulders.
Yeah. And a lot of nonprofits aren't large enough to have a full-time grant writer on staff. So that kind of is less of a commitment for them, but still gives them all the benefits.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
other thing, talking about going to no small change, something I really believe in is the branding, marketing, which is sometimes a nice to have. It isn't a nice to have, it's a must have. And
We
for
run into the
me,
same thing you talked about where it's so we can't spend more than X percentage on admin is one thing, marketing and design often gets pushed into that category as well. And it's too bad because you're actually competing for attention from with for-profit organizations that can spend whatever they want on that stuff.
I know
Yeah.
you have to be. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I look at it like if you've got the great branding, I even see it where I'm working with a small organization. First thing I do, I go to their website and I'm like, oh, because that's what the funder is going to do. And if they're not making a good impression there, sometimes the funders, ooh, they're not quite that, they're not there yet. They're not ready. We have to trust them with our money. So it's so important. You're creating awareness. You're reaching volunteers. You are reaching funders, and you're going to potentially reach more people that need help. It's so important. And especially today with AI, there's tons of noise out there, as we know, 0 clicks. Like you've just got to be on your game with your branding and your marketing. And like you said, unfortunately, there's got to be a mind shift, I think, in
Yeah.
that area for not-for-profits. And I see it is happening too. So that
I
is
think
great.
it is happening. People are
Yeah.
starting to clue in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's say I'm the recipient of the No Small Change grant. You've done the research for me. I've got my spreadsheets and I'm like, I can't afford to hire anyone to do the actual grant writing. How would you recommend I proceed? Like just start writing grants, or can you tell me a little bit about the best way to use that information and benefit from
Yeah.
it?
I always say, okay, then if the board is not willing to give you that in a budget, who on your board has the skill set to write these grants? I would put that to them, put it to the board and say, look, now this is the next step. It might cost $1,000 or something. It's in the big picture. It's not a lot of money. And ask them to do it. But they're saying, okay, I'm doing this, and I'm doing this. Which one of those things don't you want me to do so I can put the time towards writing this grant? They just have to stick up themselves. It's
Yeah.
about educating them. It really is.
How often should nonprofits be revisiting this kind of research to stay on top of funding opportunities?
I think that if they're going to be looking at doing some more grant research, maybe about 9, 10 months since we've done the initial research is great because there'll be a whole bunch of new funding opportunities and they're always announced, right?
Yeah.
It's an ongoing process. And then, of course, just keeping their eye on our e-blast. We send that out every month too, which has got opportunities that could match.
And
But
that's free,
yeah,
right? Like people can just
yeah,
subscribe to your eBlast
yeah, just
and
sign
know
up.
what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you want to be part of No Small Change and what kind of impact are you hoping to make?
I love the collaboration. I love what you're doing and how it's so generous of you to do this. Thank you. You're giving so much. And you brought everyone together, which I think is fantastic. I would love to see someone get this award because I know how hard it is. And for them to be able to get the branding, the research, everything you're offering, I think can really be transformational. I really do. I know whoever's chosen is going to be a great recipient and it's going to really help them thrive and they can provide vital services to the people, right? That where it's going to be changing lives. There's always that domino effect. I always look at the beginning, then they get the grant, then they do the work, and then it impacts all these lives and those people and their children and the people in their circles.
Awesome. We
More than
really
this.
appreciate your insights and your generosity with your time. And that's what makes this project, No Small Change, meaningful to me is the
Yeah,
relationships I'm building and just everyone pulling together for this. It's really special.
it
And we're
is.
lucky to have you on board. So thank you.
Thanks, James. I appreciate it.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.